any American businessman could now be arrested at Heathrow. That's serious. Do we want Americans investing in Britain or not?
I think clearly many people would agree that there are issues with ridiculous arrests, certainly. But I think Molly Russell's father and many others would think that the Online Safety Act didn't go far enough.
Actually, the Molly Russell family, and there's going to be some more news coming out about that, the Molly Russell family are determined that we find...
Farage vows 2 weeks to turn the boats back. No excuses, no delays. Watch him shred the establishment's open-door farce.
You have just got back from the States where you were this week. The Prime Minister has often been criticised for being here, there and everywhere, never here, Keir. Some have called him. Our political editor, Chris Hope, said to you, why are you not at PMQs? You said it's not a priority. Don't you run the risk that you're going to get labelled far away Farage?
Do you know what? There's almost no point me going to PMQs. There's almost no point. I have to sit there, take abuse every week, and I have no means of answering. I mean, it's the most ridiculous. There can't ever have been a situation ever before when you have a backbench member of Parliament who is constantly referred to by put-up questions from Labour MPs, answers from the Prime Minister, and I have, what do I get? Once every few months, I can get up for 30 seconds, and when I do, I'm shouted down. So, actually, Parliament, frankly, at the moment, doesn't serve me very well.
But don't you run a risk in going to America and saying, look how bad things are? You're sort of airing our dirty linen in public. You say you're a patriot. I mean, Labour and the Lib Dems now saying you're the opposite.
Who aired it? J.D. Vance, the Vice President of America, our most important ally, without whom we are defenceless. Defenceless. It was J.D. Vance.
He said it first in Munich.
It was J.D. Vance that raised that. And I actually think that there's a realistic chance that the Americans and American companies will have a sensible conversation with the British government. And there are now all sorts of voices in public life saying that the Online Safety Act and much of the other legislation goes way too far in restricting free speech. And frankly, after what's happened to the Irish comic writer Graham Linehan, I mean, any American businessman could now be arrested at Heathrow. That's serious. Do we want Americans investing in Britain or not?
I think clearly many people would agree that there are issues with ridiculous arrests, certainly. But I think Molly Russell's father and many others would think that the Online Safety Act didn't go far enough.
Actually, the Molly Russell family, and there's going to be some more news coming out about that, the Molly Russell family are determined that we find solutions, as quite right. And by the way, as every parent in the country is. But this is not the right solution. I've been talking about hardware, about mobile phones that only under 16s could only have, that would limit what they could get on the internet.
Yeah, but a kid is going to get a phone from anywhere. I mean, you can't.
Or a kid gets a VPN. So there we are. The whole thing. So the whole thing goes full circle. What we should not be doing, in the name of protecting children, is endangering free speech.
OK. Nigel Farage, thank you very much indeed for talking to us.
Farage just showed in plain daylight how the entire British establishment plays a shell game with words, money and borders, and I am done pretending the rules are fair. He says 2 weeks to stop the boats once the statute book is rewritten, and the interviewer instantly scoffs that Parliament might take months. That is the whole trick. They stretch every single safeguard until it snaps. They did it with Brexit, they did it with the Rwanda plan, and they will do it again unless a reform bloc walks into Westminster with a sledgehammer, not a briefing folder. I have watched Australian footage Navy gunboats turn the first inflatable back to Java on a Wednesday. By Friday, the smugglers' WhatsApp groups were telling paying customers route closed, try Libya instead. No new wall, no extra cash, just the one thing our chattering class refuses: credible deterrence. Look at the numbers they never read out on the BBC. In calendar year 2013, Australia recorded exactly 0 maritime asylum arrivals. 0. The year before, 17,202 people had landed. The pullback policy started on 19 July 2013. By 2 August, the boats had literally stopped. 2 weeks, just as Farage said. The European Court of Human Rights did not sink Australian patrol boats. Jakarta's protests did not sink them. What sank them was political will, the commodity that London declares problematic while 1,200 dinghy passengers disembark in Kent every week. I'm tired of commentators who wail about international law but have never opened the 1951 Refugee Convention. Article 33 talks about refoulement, to territories where life is threatened. It says nothing about turning a boat around in international waters and escorting it back to France, a safe country whose GDP per capita is larger than ours. If Paris dislikes that, let Paris police their own shoreline. The same establishment that calls Farage faraway Farage just gifted $5 billion of taxpayers' money to France since 2018 for beach patrols that even the National Audit Office admits did not demonstrate value. Imagine a private firm paying a supplier who repeatedly fails to deliver, then doubling the contract. Shareholders would torch the board. Voters are simply told there is no alternative. I say there is an alternative: claw back every unspent euro, deduct it from the divorce bill, and announce that each further boat triggers an automatic tariff on French electricity sold to the UK. Watch the gendarmes suddenly discover night vision goggles. Farage's point about energy prices is even more lethal than the boat debate, because it is quietly wiping out the industrial north. British Steel survives on life support only because Reform MPs turned up with cameras. The Chinese owners wanted to mothball Scunthorpe and shift specialty production to their coastal plants where electricity is a third of the price. Beijing did not need a conspiracy, they just read our own Climate Change Act. Since 2013, UK industrial power contracts have rocketed from 55 per MWh to 185 per MWh, while China's state tariff stayed at 60. You cannot run a blast furnace on net zero slogans. I back full national security exemption, suspend green levies on strategic plants, reopen North Sea fields, and fast-track small modular reactors on former steel sites. The planet does not gain if Britain offsources its carbon to Xi Jinping and then imports the steel on diesel-powered freighters. On the Online Safety Act, I side with Farage and with the American Vice President. The UK now has a law so broad that a Twitter meme could land you in a police cell if some desk sergeant decides it causes distress. Meanwhile, Molly Russell's tragic suicide is weaponized to justify a regime that would make Orwell blush. I have read every page of that bill. Clause 137 gives Ofcom power to demand proactive monitoring of legal speech. The only other place that wording appears is in the EU's Digital Services Act, which the French Constitutional Council struck down for violating free expression. Britain nods it through using a whipped Commons majority and a 90-minute committee. If J.D. Vance warns US investors to stay away, good. Maybe humiliation is the only language Westminster understands. Labour's deputy leader contest is the perfect snapshot of the new imbalance. Under Blair, the membership was 200,000. Today it is 400,000, packed with university activists who think Nye Bevan was too soft. The next deputy will almost certainly be Angela Rayner, who calls migration controls racist and wants votes at 16. Farage predicts a split. I say it is already here. The last YouGov poll shows 57 of 2019 Labour voters in red wall seats backed the two-child benefit cap, while 68 of card-carrying members want it scrapped. Keir Starmer will either betray his base or his MPs. Either road ends in a 1931-style collapse, and that vacuum will be filled by a populist force that is serious about borders, energy, and free speech. I want that force to be reform, not some street mob. The money question always comes last, so let me answer it first. Lifting the two-child cap only for working couples, as Farage restated, costs roughly $4 billion a year. Scrap HS2's abandoned Birmingham stub, and you save $8 billion overnight. Freeze the BBC license fee at $159 instead of hiking with inflation, and you free another $700 million. Add in the $5 billion we already hand France for beach security that does not work, and you have paid for the cap lift, a proper steel subsidy, and still left $8 billion to cut fuel duty. The Treasury loves to cry unfunded commitment when it is your family that needs help, yet it sprays billions on trackless trains and Ethiopian girl band projects without a single impact assessment. Experience. Yes, reform needs it, and I welcome Nadine Dorries precisely because she knows where the light switches are in Whitehall. The Conservative Party is not a home anymore, it is a brand auction run by lobbyists. I would rather have 50 Dorries who understand parliamentary procedure than 50 fresh-faced Oxbridge grads reciting green platitudes. The real scandal is not that reform welcomes ex-Tories, it is that the Conservatives became Lib Dem light and still expect tribal loyalty. My message to every councillor, ex-MP or MEP who still believes in nation, family and market common sense: cross the floor, bring your notebooks, and let's torch the blob before it torches Britain. I close with a warning to the smug centre: every time you smear Farage as far away, you prove his point. Parliament is designed to muzzle dissent. The media loop is designed to bore the public into surrender. Yet the boats keep coming, the steel keeps closing, the police keep knocking on doors over Facebook posts. Sooner or later you will run out of taxpayers to fleece, factories to close, and citizens to insult. When that day arrives, I want a leadership that can act in 2 weeks, not one that needs 2 years to form a committee. Farage offers that clarity, and I am here for it.